How you doing, everybody? This is Imam Suleiman Salam. I want to just take a few moments of your time. I'm here with my good friend, Sean Tyler. What's going on, Sean?
What's happening?
What did it do, man?
I'm good.
I'd like to thank you for taking some time out of your schedule, man, to sit down with me for a few moments.
You know, when you call, I can't tell you no. So,
Man, it's the same way for you, man. Unless I notice your number on the caller ID, then I just pretend like I didn't get the call.
I didn't get the
So
call.
I'll
I missed
never
it.
tell you no. Just kidding. No, I wouldn't tell you no either, man. But I appreciate you being here. But just for the sake of the people who are watching us, neither of us currently have on masks. We are keeping a little distance between us, as we should socially. But I also want to let you know that we're both
fully vaccinated.
Vaccinated. Yeah, which is kind of what I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
To be honest with you, at one point in this journey, I was 100% against vaccination.
Can I ask you why?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you. I was for the social distancing. I was for wearing the mask.
But this is long
Keeping
before COVID.
everybody
You've always
safe.
been.
Well, yeah, give me 3 feet, man. Give me 3 feet. No, but I mean, with the COVID, I understood the rationale behind social distancing, even the rationale behind wearing masks. But I was 100% against the vaccine. In fact, I know a brother who told me, he said, man, they ain't giving me no vaccine. And the only way they going to give me a vaccine is on the back of a bullet. And I was like, I'm with you, brother. Yeah, they going to have 2 bullets. Because I was like, yeah, I ain't doing that.
Right.
But then, you know, me and Antoinette, my wife, we both ended up with COVID, got pretty sick. And then I was asked afterwards, so you going to get the vaccine now? And I was like, no. Nah. I was nil. I was totally 100% against it, man. And here I find myself vaccinated. And yeah, I wanted to take a moment to talk about that because I know there's a lot of people who have apprehensions about getting vaccinated. Some people think that it's a conspiracy. Some people think that it's harmful. It's going to be harmful. It's bad for us. That we don't need it. It's a lot of things, and you somebody who I respect. You somebody who I think a lot of other people respect. And since I knew that you had got vaccinated, also, I thought that, man, maybe I could get you to have a conversation about it and maybe share some information that might help somebody else and then make their decision.
Okay. Let me ask you this, because we're both being 100% transparent here because we're trying to encourage or at least give you more information in case you are on the fence about being vaccinated. But
Right.
you took a Hajj pilgrimage.
I did.
Several times, right?
I went once.
Once?
But I also went to Italy a couple times.
Which means you had to receive some vaccinations to go on these trips, correct?
This is true.
And there was no hesitation to get vaccination for those trips.
You're just gonna start out with this.
Well,
right?
I mean, because like you said, we're being transparent here. But you took vaccination to take both of those journeys.
See, this line of questioning has something to do with why I decided to go ahead and get vaccinated. Because you asked me initially, why was I so against it?
Mm-hmm.
I was 100% against vaccination because I was saying that there's so much that we don't know about the vaccines. That the vaccines were developed and put out. They say
In
that
sort of a rush.
in a rush.
Mm-hmm.
They said this is the quickest that a vaccine ever made it to market, to the general public, the fastest ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, it's too much that we don't know about that. There's a lot of information that floats around that said that the vaccine is going to make me get wings and turn into a bat. Man, you laughing for it, man. I
didn't hear any of that.
You didn't?
No.
What?
No,
Man,
no,
come on,
no.
man. They saying that these vaccines going to change our DNA. It's going to recode us and we're going to look like we're going to turn into bats. Or are they going to kill us? Or are they going to make us cripple? Or all kind of, man, come on. You ain't heard none of this stuff before.
No.
Wow.
No, I haven't.
Well, I heard all of it.
I've heard a lot of apprehension about the vaccines and the speed in which they were gone through the system at the FDC, the FDA, I'm sorry. And this is the quickest the vaccine has ever gone through that process to be approved. But then on the flip side of that, it's 2021.
True.
So the vaccines that were created decades ago had to go through a lengthy process, but they also didn't have the technology, the knowledge,
Yeah.
the ingredients, the information, or any of the other stuff that we had as far as preparing for this vaccine.
True.
Which is why there are several types of vaccinations that you can receive. Moderna,
Yeah.
Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, and all of that stuff. And they're putting them through the process. And a lot of time was solely put on these.
Right.
You know, so that's all these companies were working on at one point. So they went through the testing and they did all of that stuff, and it did come out fast, but it did go through the proper channels.
But let me ask you this: don't you think that a lot of Black people, African Americans, are at least justified with being apprehensive about the vaccine or taking vaccines, considering some of our history in this country?
Which is why I asked you about going on those journeys.
No,
hear me out.
I'm talking about like the syphilis experiment.
I get it.
Things of that.
I get it. But you are a Black man.
True.
You took these vaccinations to go out of the country to go on these journeys.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Those vaccinations were received to go on a trip. This vaccination is more so to save lives.
Well, when I took the vaccine to go on the trip, I saw the vaccines that I took as saving potentially my life or the life of somebody else in the country I was going to, because I considered the fact, because I didn't just take it.
Right.
And I want to mention this. The reason why I chuckled when you asked me that question is because when me and my wife was having a conversation about me not taking the vaccine, she said, didn't you take the vaccine when you went to Hajj? How much did you know about that vaccine before you took it?
Right.
I'm like,
yeah.
And she asked me the exact same thing, and I had to think about it. But it wasn't that I didn't consider it at all. I did consider it, but what I predetermined then was, no, I didn't know a lot about the vaccine, but I assumed that a lot of research a lot of time went into them suggesting that these vaccines had to be taken, because I'm going into a whole different country, a whole different environment. They have different type of germs and et cetera there. And so I said, yeah, it may make sense for me to get vaccinated against something that my body hasn't been exposed to.
But again, those vaccines were created decades ago when technology was way different.
Sure.
So the technology that we have now affords the ability to be able to speed up processes,
right,
and do more testing, because they have all the research for all the testing that they've been doing for years. Because you have to realize that they had to weigh these vaccines against how it would react to a cancer patient,
sure,
a patient with diabetes,
sure,
a patient with AIDS.
Yeah.
So they did all this testing, and they were able to do it in such a speedy fashion because they have the research and the notes already compiled, and they knew what was going in these vaccines and the serums that they had for other stuff that might help these other diseases. So they had all this information to weigh against, and they had computers to do it in such a quick fashion.
But I'm going to be honest with you. Even equipped with all that information, I wasn't sold on the vaccine. And here's another reason why. As a faith community leader, I have over the years been approached by healthcare professionals asking me to provide them with a religious exemption letter so they didn't have to take flu vaccines. Now, these are people who administered vaccines to people,
right,
coming to me saying, hey, I don't want to take this flu vaccine. It's some dangerous stuff in there. And they actually even gave me a list of the ingredients that were dangerous.
And I was going to say the difference between the flu vaccine and this COVID vaccine is they're injecting flu into you. With the COVID vaccines, they're not injecting COVID into you.
That's partially true. It's partially true. I found out that that's partially true because I had a long time. Listen, for me to get to the point where I decided to get vaccinated, I had a long talk with at least 3 or 4 nurses, And then I wasn't satisfied, so I talked to 2 doctors. One of the doctors just tried to make me feel stupid for not wanting the vaccine. He's like, I thought you had a lot of sense. Seemed like you came up with all the reasons why you need to take the vaccine. You had COVID. He went through all of that. He's like this. So I don't understand what your problem is. And okay, I understand where he was coming from. I'm like, but bro, I'm calling you because
weighing the facts.
Yeah. But what ended up happening is, after my wife and I got over COVID and some weeks passed, my assistant got COVID and it took him out quick. Didn't matter. I mean, I know he went into the hospital on a Sunday. By Wednesday, he was gone.
Wow.
And when that happened, I scared my wife, and she was like, "Yeah, I changed my mind. I want to get the vaccine." I'm like, "Okay, but I'm not getting the vaccine." And how you change your mind? She said, "He just died from COVID, man. I want to get the vaccine." And certain other people start pressuring me that I should consider it because my wife has underlying health issues. And even though she stays home most of the time, but I'm out and about around people, scared I might bring something home. So you should really consider it. So I was considering it.
Right.
And even made arrangements for her to go take her, get her shot. When I got there, the person that helped me arrange that for her,
ended up being somebody you know.
Ended up being somebody I named. Should I say her name?
I'm sure she would like that because it would help. Yeah.
What's that mean?
Hyatt.
Put me on blast while I was there with my wife in front of the doctor. That he's here on a protest. He don't want to get no vaccine. He thinks it's a whole bunch of crap. She blew me out.
Right.
The doctor stopped what she was doing and sat there and talked to me for about an hour and a half.
Right.
Explaining to me like she wanted to answer every question that I possibly have about it to get me on board as you would. And in the conversation, she explained to me that the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines are not virus-based.
Mm-hmm.
They're protein-based.
Protein-based.
She said that the Johnson & Johnson and the AstraZeneca. Thank you for that, my friend. Also deal with proteins, but they do inject you with a mild case of COVID that activates or creates the proteins that helps your body to fight against it.
Right.
So the first 2, no COVID at all.
Yeah.
But the other 2 actually do have COVID in
So
it.
which shot did you end up getting?
Not Johnson & Johnson or not AstraZeneca. But not that I'm saying that you shouldn't get those.
Because I got the Johnson & Johnson shot.
Oh, let me move back 3
No, and so here's the thing. Like you said, you had COVID.
Sure.
And you had to be convinced still to get the shot.
Yeah.
And you got
I got Pfizer
shot. So I was exposed to COVID maybe 10 times. Never had COVID. Never had a symptom. Never was asymptomatic, because once I was exposed, I immediately went and got tested.
Sure.
So I work in the music industry, and the music industry has been shut down for a year. No touring, no anything. Right. But we slowly open back up. People back in the studio shooting music videos, and hopefully we're going to get back to touring here soon. And from what we understand, we're hearing rumblings that in order for tours to take place, travel to take place, that you're going to have to prove that you had the vaccine, which is not why I chose to get the shot. I miss being able to visit with relatives and friends who have underlying health conditions.
Yeah.
And, just the camaraderie of being around those people again and trying to get back to some sense of normalcy in the world. I thought that I owed it to everyone around me to protect myself and them from having the virus. And I don't have it in my schedule to get one shot and then go back 3 weeks later and get another shot.
Right.
So I was presented an opportunity to get the one shot Johnson & Johnson, and I took it.
Right.
And I'm glad I did. And I had no symptoms, no side effects. No sore arm, no heavy arm, no anything.
Right. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't have any soreness. I had some sore. It wasn't horrible.
Right.
But I had some soreness in my arm. It also made me pretty tired, sleepy. But really, outside of that, I didn't really have any other symptoms, if you will, that caused me any problems. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take the Johnson & Johnson or AstraZeneca vaccines. If you have the opportunity to get a vaccine, maybe you should. But I was actually arguing back and forth with the doctor about, no, seriously, you know me. I'm like,
right.
Listen, my logic says I don't
right.
need the vaccine. And she said, why do you say that? And I said, because I had COVID. And I know that the way God created your body is created to build a defense to help secure you or fight against invaders in your
Absolutely.
body, right?
So now your body knows that invader is ready to attack it.
But that's why I was saying that's the whole reason you get the vaccine, so that your body does naturally what it's supposed to do, right? And she said, yeah. I said, well, if I already had the virus, my body already knows about the invader and already built antibodies.
Right.
Am I correct? And she said, yeah, you correct. But she said, I don't have enough antibodies. And she said, and my antibodies would only last for a certain period of time. So now this is where I'm about to trick her. So I said, okay, so you telling me that the vaccine is going to give me more antibodies and it's going to last longer? And she said, yeah. I said, how you know that? And she said, we know that the vaccine is going to last longer, more antibodies longer. I said, see, you just made that up, because in this paperwork that you gave me, that you supposed to, when people get ready to get the shot, you say, we need you to read this and then sign off that we gave it to you.
Right.
See, I know most people don't read it, but I read it.
Right.
And in that paper, it said, we don't know how long it's going to last. So if the paper say you don't know, then you don't know. So how you going to tell me it's going to last longer? And she said, okay, you and them. She said, no. The reason, she said, we don't know exactly how long it lasts. Right. But I can tell you it'll last longer than what your body naturally was able to produce. And she said, I'm not saying that your body couldn't produce the same amount of antibodies.
It's an insurance policy.
No. She said, but in order for your body to produce the same amount of antibodies that you get from the vaccine, you'd have to get really, really sick. The sicker you are, the more antibodies that your body creates. So she said, so what's happening is the people who are getting sick enough to create more antibodies are the ones that are ending up in the hospital on the ventilator or dying. And she said, under normal circumstances, if this was like, say, the flu, because the flu does kill so many people annually, right? Yeah. But she said, but it's not to the extent that this virus has done to people. Right. So over 500,000. 500,000 people just in the U.S. have died from COVID. So she said, if this was normal circumstances, I would say, you're right. Your body created antibodies. Don't worry about the vaccine. Right. She said, but because it's killed over 500,000 people, that
the risk is too high.
The risk is too high. And if you get sick enough to create enough antibodies, statistically right now, most people are dying.
Right. By the time your body gets to that point where it's ready to fight it off, at that point, you've already succumbed to it because it attacks the body.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she said, you right, but you putting yourself at greater risk.
So basically, drastic times call for drastic measures.
Basically. And you know, the greater good, what you were talking about, the exposure to other people. And she was saying, you know, nobody is claiming that the vaccine prevents COVID.
Right.
Does it? But what the goal is to prevent people from getting sick enough to die from it. Right. So that kind of made sense to me. And she broke me down. Every other thing that I posed to her, man, she answered everything that I had. And before the end of the conversation, well, at the end of the conversation, she was sticking the needle in my arm. I consented to get it back, and it made sense.
Yeah,
and it made sense to me.
And so that provides you with two aspects of the situation: somebody who's actually had COVID and got the 2-shot vaccination, someone who's been exposed to COVID, never had COVID, got the 1-shot vaccination. So I had of COVID injected in me, and I still have had no symptoms.
You know you had COVID, did you?
Right. I've had no symptoms. I've had no
COVID.
side effects, no anything. So just giving you some information so you can weigh the options for yourself on whether or not you would like to receive the vaccination. But if I, or you're asking my opinion, I would say that you should definitely weigh more toward the side of getting the vaccination. And I think that that's going to help us get to a normal place again.
Yeah. And if you know me, you know that I'm not the type of person that likes to tell people what they need to do. I'm an advocate for people being thinkers and being independent thinkers. And I encourage you to do a lot of research, because it's one thing to just go by what somebody says and what you hear. And it's another thing to be somebody that just goes along with the crowd. See, I had resistance to the whole herd immunity.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm not a herd type of guy.
No.
That ain't my thing. So
I never heard that.
You never heard that either?
I heard that.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I'm not a guy that's an advocate for just going along with the crowd, going along to get along.
Yeah.
I believe that everybody has a responsibility to yourself first.
Knowledge is king.
And then to your family and loved ones, to at least investigate and do some research, and then make a good decision.
Yeah.
My decision initially was, no, I'm good. Ultimately, it turned out to be, I'm going to go ahead and get this vaccine.
But it was information based.
It was definitely information based.
And I do want to say that the reason we're doing this is totally organic.
Absolutely.
It's not sponsored by anybody.
Nobody.
And again, we're not here to tell you to do it or even try to convince you to do it. Just giving you information based on two totally separate cases, two different extremes, and having the information. And we eventually both decide to get the vaccination. But again, all the information you can gather, because you have a choice. You have several different vaccines that you could possibly receive. So if you have the information that one vaccine might be better for your person, then that's what you should go with. But definitely get information on all of them and see what works best for you if you're thinking about getting vaccinated.
And I wanted to add one or two more caveats real quick before we close. One thing that I hear from a lot of people is that I'm not there yet. I'm still thinking about it. Right. I'm a little wait a while and see if your arm falls off.
Right. I'm gonna see if an ear grows out the back of your neck. Yeah, I have heard that.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait and see what happens in the long run. And I even posed that to the doctor, and I was saying, why should we rush in and get this vaccine? I even talked about the
Tuskegee experiment.
Yeah, and she came back to me with, even though these people were injected with syphilis, they didn't give them a cure that ultimately hurt them.
Right.
They refused to give them the cure for syphilis. They had the cure for syphilis.
Yeah.
What actually happened is they refused. They kept the cure away from them to see how bad, I guess,
their reactions would be to have the syphilis.
So it wasn't a situation where they gave them something that was harmful to them.
Right.
And in this particular case, with this vaccine, when a lot of people were afraid about taking it, whatever, she drew my attention to the reality that most of the people who are anxiously trying to go after the vaccine first were doctors, first responders. And she was saying that a lot of the doctors were literally fighting to be the first ones to receive the vaccine, them and their families.
Right.
Now, if we're concerned about whether it's harmful, et cetera, she posed the question, why do you think it was that they were
the first,
fighting to
be the first ones to get it? Yeah.
And interestingly, I took my mother to get vaccinated. My mother had put her name on a list, several lists, and was waiting a response. She had never got called back. My mother ended up getting her vaccine because one of the nurses at the hospital had reserved a spot for one of their relatives, and their relative said they couldn't make it. Somebody that knew my mother overheard the nurse say their cousin or whoever wasn't making it, and they said, well, my cousin want to get the vaccine before she goes to surgery. Can she have that spot?
Right.
And they said if she can get here by this time, she can get it. Now, I took my mother to get her vaccine. She was the only black person there.
Wow.
And this was, should I say the hospital? Yeah, it was at Research Medical Center. I say that's in the black neighborhood. Yeah. Somebody said it's in the crust between the black neighborhood and the not black.
Well, I'm gonna suggest you do some research and research where research is, because research is in the black neighborhood.
63rd and Prospect.
Right.
But she was the only person at that time, black, that was getting the vaccine.
And it's funny you should mention that, because when I went to get my 1-shot dosage, some of the health professionals were talking about the 2-shot dosage, and they were saying that a large portion of African Americans who had gotten on the list to get the 2-shot dosage, got the first shot, never came back to get the second shot.
Yeah.
And if you don't go back and get the second shot, it renders the first shot inactive, and you'll have to do the process all over again. Yeah. So if you do know of anyone who is going to get the first shot, stay on them to help them get the second shot, because it's for naught if they don't. You have to have both of those vaccination dosages to make it effective.
Right. And I was just going to say, I won't name these other medical institutions, but I was also informed that in several of the medical institutions in the inner city, I'm going to probably say 80 to 95% of the people who have actually been vaccinated are not African American. And not because they don't want it, because they haven't got callbacks to come in to get it. And so where these numbers have been allocated that would support our communities, they're being given to somebody else.
Yeah. And the way I got my shot is someone gave me some information about a location that's in the inner city that was providing this Johnson & Johnson shot, but none of the information was getting out to anybody. And they said, I just happened to know someone who was aware of that location.
Right.
Which is how I was able to call and make my appointment to get on the list.
Right.
So it almost feels as if they are not getting the information out to the African American community for whatever reason. And again, this could be speculation, but the way it looks, and being someone who's like in the community all the time and very active in what's going on in the community and seeing what's happening, that you're right. The information is either not given to them or it's not provided to them in a way that it could be useful.
Yeah.
Because like they're almost making it seem with the media post that you have to wait until they ask for a certain age group or a certain sect of people before you can call and get an appointment. But there are several locations where anybody, any walk of life can call and make an appointment and get on the list and go and get the shot. So again, information. We encourage you to research some things and call your state reps.
Yeah.
Call your city council people, call City Hall, call the health department. Yeah. They have this information readily available where you can call and they'll tell you where you can go, where you don't have to wait when they give a little block of ages or whatever, so you can go ahead and get on the list and get vaccinated.
And I also wanted to acknowledge this, that if you know me and you know how to reach me, then reach out to me if you're interested in getting the vaccine, because I actually know someone who has been advocating for people in our communities to have access to the vaccine if they want it.
Yeah.
And I've been told that if I present their information, that I can certainly get them in to get a vaccine.
All right.
You don't have to wait a long time. If that's something that you choose to do, then reach out to me and let me know it's something that you want, and we can get you set up.
Yeah, your DMs are welcome for that.
For sure.
For that.
Yeah.
For
you
that.
can slide into the DM for that.
For vaccination information.
Vaccination.
Everything else,
COVID.
keep it to yourself.
Keep all that to yourself. I'm good on that.
So I'm glad you asked me to be a part of this.
Hey man, thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Listen, again, as Sean said, this is generic. Nobody asked me to do this. We're not getting paid to do it. I just been paying attention to what's been going on. And I again, this is my good friend. somebody that I find has some influence in the community, but more importantly, he's somebody who is my friend. And I just wanted to reach out to him because I knew he had decided to get the vaccine, and I wanted to know what prompted him to go ahead and do it, and I wanted to see if he would just come and have this conversation with me. So, man, I appreciate you.
Oh,
I
anytime,
love you, bro.
Love you too.
Arm bump.
Oh yeah.
We keep it cool. We keep it Gucci. And hey, watch out there, partner. Hey, hold on, wait a minute. Listen, man, COVID is real.
COVID is real.
All right, y'all. Peace and love.